Welcome to the Junction Boys podcast, coming to you from beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. As always, I am your co-host, William Hildebrand, joined by Doc Jacobson, and we're sorry for missing last week, all right? That's on us. Hand up, on us. You know what? We went into the locker room. We didn't feel good about ourselves. There's a lot of looking in the mirror, a lot of reevaluating. And no finger pointing, unless it was right back at us. But the reason for that is Doc and I were in Las Vegas. We took Gamblin Dans on the road. We fully planned on having an episode from Las Vegas. And then I don't want to name names. But let's just hypothetically call them me. Started drinking a lot and things got off the rails quickly. Doc, I want to start off with I was oversold. I felt like I was dealt a bag of magic beans with the MGM Grand Pool. Did you feel that way too? It wasn't Fire Fest, but it wasn't fire emoji either. They say, 6.5 acres, there's a DJ. It's just like someone playing Darude across one of the pools. And then there's another pool with just a bunch of moms. And then another pool with a bunch of just guys with tattoos racing each other. And I was like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was kind of imagine where they build a hotel around a community pool. It was just a bunch of those next to each other. And then one of them was like you said, for kids. One of them was for like mildly drinking adults, and the other one was just for meatheads just being crazy. And really, like you said,
there was a lot of 90-degree angles in those pool shapes.
Oh yeah. It wasn't although we did not make it to the Lazy River. The Lazy River would have been big, I think, but we got there too late. The Lazy River would have been a big play.
I don't know. The Lazy River worries me because it's a current, and you are actively being in the pool. And so then I feel like at that rate, the inertia of the pee would have hit me. Unless I stayed behind you, in which case it would have been fine. So maybe we should have done the Lazy River now that I think about it.
The current just pulls the pee out of you. So I don't know how you stop it. Let's just be honest.
I think you are dramatically overestimating the speed of this Lazy River, that it's able to vacuum urine out of your body.
Well, I can get into the mathematics and physics behind it, but I'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of closed down bars, and we were there on a Friday, and it was just like there was nowhere to get drinks, and so we're just smuggling in beers in our pockets. Last year the MGM Grand listened to this, in which case we had no beers in our pockets. I don't know. What sort of experience out in Vegas stood out to you?
The overall experience was just cyclones everywhere, man. Red and cardinal and gold as far as the eye could see. 30,000 Iowa State fans in attendance. That was the best part. The worst part, even worse than the pools, was that Iowa State tailgate that we went to. It was like a 2-hour wait for a beer. I walked out immediately. I was like, nope, I'm going to the bar, or I'm going back to the book. Give me back into the beers and the sports betting. At 3:00 game, we're going.
The only thing worse for Doc than that Bud Light tailgate, where ironically enough, it was very difficult to get a beer, was the walk over there where I essentially just absconded. I essentially berated Doc about being a Redcoat. So first of all, not far removed from 9/11, coming up on Veterans Day, Doc bets on the worst team in football, the UConn Huskies, against Army. Now, UConn backdoor covered. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter, which is the first 21 points UConn has ever scored in their lives. But Doc won bet against country, okay? And then I fly clear across the country supporting these guys right here. And what does this son of a bitch right here do? He bets on the Tulane Green Wave plus 14 against one Ole Miss Rebels.
I have no explanation for myself. I was on one that weekend, just living and vibing, baby, living and vibing. Just looking at the book, not even thinking, just 50 down. Just immediate gut bets.
It was. I think you got too bullish off of that UConn cover that you just said, you know what? I'm just gonna fade. Oh, Willie Hildebrand over here.
Yep. Not the first time I've faded Willie Hildebrand, let's be honest.
So, to paint a scene for you, Doc and I were about 4 beers deep and then look at our watches and are like, oh, it's 8:15 in the morning. And the drinking just kind of continued. I found a nice comfy spot in the sports book, was just give me all the Crown Royal you got. Just crown after crown after crown. I felt like a king, that many crowns. King, you dropped this. And so Doc and I are, I don't want to say half in the bag. We are barely in the bag. We have broken through the bottom of the bag, very barely in the bag, I would say. And we're walking, which the thing that pisses me off about the desert, Doc, is you cannot get your bearings on how fucking far anything is. You're like, oh, there's the Nathan's hot dogs across the hotel. You should pack a snack to get there. I felt like a backpacker. Like I was making the pilgrimage from Lisbon to Rome. Like everything is so far and nothing looks far. I now finally understand mirages. And I'm not fully convinced that the Mirage Hotel even exists. I think it's just an inside joke that they're all on because you can never get there. So then we're walking from the MGM to the Mandalay Bay and the little stupid Bud Light tailgate right there. And Doc and I are functioning at not a high level. To put this into math perspective, if you're looking at the math you do from first grade to senior year of college, we were solidly on the multiplication table page as a brain function. We were not to exponents yet. We were 3 times 3. We were 3 times 4.
Yeah, low multiplication. We weren't even double-digit multiplication.
Not doing 12 times 11, 132. But then we're walking. Do you need me to roll these up just to flex a little bit? So that we are struggling and making it worse. And God bless, we had a third buddy with us, good friend of the show, Dylan in Minnesota.
Resides north.
God bless him, walking in the middle of us as I'm just repeating myself of calling Doc a traitor for what felt like 14 miles. And Doc's just standing there like, I don't know, man. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess we'll see. And I was like, so help me God. If you win this bet, I'm going to be even angrier.
Between the traitor and I flew halfway across this world, not even country, all the way across the country, halfway across the world. I was like, dude, all right, like, we're going to have fun. Like, what we're talking about here. You're mad because I put $25 on Tulane?
I was banging that drum. My time in the air, I was just hammering that drum away.
Another reference point, like you said, I mean, we were drinking liquor drinks at like 10 a.m. I remember I looked at you at noon. I go, it feels like 6 o'clock at night right now. What are we doing?
That was unbelievable because your body is on. First of all, I looked at my my Apple Watch from Friday, and shout out Apple, not a sponsor. And I had 21 standing hours.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my activity for. Let me pull it up. This is really bad radio, quote unquote radio. But I gotta
do a lot of walking and standing in Vegas if you haven't been.
Yeah, I gotta put this in. I had my standing hours on Saturday from midnight to 2 a.m. And then I had idle hours, which meant I was wearing my watch and awake, but not enough to be standing. I'm guessing those are blackjack hours. And that's
awake.
Yeah.
Air
And then
quotes.
at 5 o'clock, I have another standing hour. And then I guess I was asleep for 6, 7, 8, 9, or just wasn't wearing my watch. And then from 10 on, I had it. And then the next Sunday, noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so just to say, long days.
Long days.
But we're on East Coast time, so when we wake up at 6:30 on Saturday, it's 9:30. You know, we're rejuvenated, we're good, we're the boys. It's Saturday, and Jesus, I mean, the Crown was out well before noon, and it was. But hey, we made it home with some money. So
Made it home with some money. The other thing with the walking and standing in Vegas, it does kind of stop you from like getting too drunk, and forgetting some things. So that was the only plus I got out of the walking, was there was no foggy moments, no hazy moments. It just, kept moving right along, kept that feet moving. Low man wins.
The R. Kelly little video where he's yelling, "I'm fighting for my life."
Yeah.
That was like that last pillar getting knocked down in my brain of making sure that I didn't black out at any point. Was
right.
Just, I'm fighting for life. It's just like being saved by like a long walk or like a lot of Nathan's hot dogs. Shout out Nathan.
Oh, that steak on Saturday was huge.
Steak was
fantastic.
Great.
Wolfgang Puck, shout out, not as a sponsor, but shout out.
Worst pizza I've ever had in my life.
That Vegas, I hate sending back food, and I know I told you to do it, but Vegas is the only place you can send back food. It's the only place in the world you can.
I made the right decision there.
Oh yeah,
you saw that.
Definitely.
If I could choose between having that pizza and going to the elementary school closest to my house and getting a pizza from their cafeteria on a free and reduced lunch plan, I would choose the free and reduced lunch plan pizza over that pizza from Wolfgang.
They have uncooked cheese on your pizza. I was like, okay, that's just not a pizza.
Yeah, what is this? The tailgate here? But then that steak, one of the best steaks I've ever had. But like I said, we're kicking. We're doing all right.
We're alive. That's the best part.
We've got hats. We came back with money.
Some of us did.
I think Doc's not Benedict Arnold anymore until I see his picks next week when Ole Miss returns to the field, in which case I'm free to change my mind again. But speaking of making money, let's get into Gamblin Dans. Just before we do, I want to thank Rosati's in Buckhead, the #1 place to watch all the action this fall. The best pizza in Atlanta, the best wings in Atlanta, the coldest beer in Atlanta. They've got over 100 different beers on tap, over 40 big screen TVs. Support the people who support us. Support Rosati's in Buckhead. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag so far on Gamblin Dans. I'm leading the way at 7-3, but I'm 0-2 on whammy picks. Now, I carried on Michael's lineage from last year, where Michael had just an absolute just heater of whammy picks. I didn't carry that on yet. Ben is next at 3-1. He's 1-1 on whammies. He was 1-4 last week. I forgot to mention I was 4-1 last week. Doc is at 1-8-1, 0-2. But Doc, you know what they say? Consistency is what you're looking for in betting. And you are very consistent.
Yeah, I got more thumbs than I have wins this year, but hey, what are we gonna do?
All right. Well, hey, I'll get us started. My first two picks that I'm gonna give out. Give me Fresno State minus 30.5 against UNLV. Now, we just watched UNLV in person a couple days ago. They are horrific at football. Mother of God. Now, I know they play in like it looked like the stadium from Any Given Sunday. Like I felt like I was watching a movie's professional football team in that stadium. There's a very weird vibe. But Fresno State, they can score, man. They are dynamic on offense. They gave Oregon a better run than Ohio State did. They just got into the rankings, minus 30.5. They're going to slaughter UNLV. That team not only doesn't have talent, they don't have fight. The running Rebels are done, and Fresno State is going to eat. Holler at me, Carr family. BYU, we're staying out west. The Stormin' Mormons are 3-0. They're rising up the rankings as well. And they got all 3 wins against Pac-12 opponents. All right? So they are taking on USF. There's a couple common themes here in my first 2 picks. We're going out west. We're going with the ranked team. We're going with an enormous line. And the teams they're playing are dog shit. South Florida is horrible. The years of Matt Grothy leading them to number 2 in the polls, long gone. When Tom Allen was running the sidelines as D coordinator, long gone. The Bulls are awful. And BYU, what do they do with awful teams? They hammer them. They love a big line. You know why? Because this is all they got. They're not going out hitting the bars. They're not having Crown Royals at the sports bar with Doc and I. No, all they do is kick the shit out of you if you're an awful team. And they're going to do that on Saturday. BYU minus 23, Fresno State minus 30.5.
Like them. Love them. Sticking with bad teams. Taking Cardinals minus 7 in Jacksonville. 1 o'clock kickoff. Trevor Lawrence needs a couple more years to figure it out. Jacksonville's team just sucks. Their defense sucks. Kyler Murray's going to throw, 5, 6 touchdowns, maybe run for 2 more. It is going to be an absolute blowout. Really liking the Cardinals there. Pick number 2. This one had my eyes lurking. Buffalo at home against Washington. I'm liking the over here. Over 45.5. Here's why. Washington is not covered an over against bad teams. Especially one I'm thinking of was the Thursday night game against the Giants last week. That over was gone in like the third quarter. Buffalo's a good team. They are going to score. I really like the over here at 45.5. I think Buffalo puts up 35 by themselves. I mean, this Washington secondary is just getting exploited. That defensive line's good. The linebackers are good, but that secondary cannot cover anyone. Josh Allen throws the ball a million miles. So my first 2 picks are Cardinals minus 7, Buffalo, and the Washington over 45.5. Back over to you, William.
So my first 2 picks had a lot of synchronicity to them. My next 2 picks do not. These are as different as they come. Now, when I first got out to Vegas, I was just surrounded by Midwesterners. I'm hearing a lot of really long O sounds. People are talking about Rice Krispie treats with chocolate and peanut butter on them. I'm seeing cargo shorts. I don't know which way's up. All right? Frankly, I was confused. But they wore me down with their kindness. So they live right here. And because of that, I'm going against Nebraska. Give me Michigan State minus 5. Michigan State, great football team. Tucker, unbelievable. Big fan. Mel Tucker has done Yemen's work there. And so I'm all about Michigan State. You thought in the heat, usually when northern teams will come down to the south, that heat gets to them. Hey, Miami was the one getting tired. They had more broken tackles in that game than any other game in college football this year. That is a fact per Pro Football Focus. So now I know Nebraska gave Oklahoma a run. Oklahoma, they barely beat Tulane. And then Tulane, as mentioned earlier in the podcast, got massacred by the Ole Miss Rebels in the rain on Saturday. And so I don't think that says much about Nebraska as much as it does about Oklahoma. So give me Michigan State to just win by 5. East Lansing, Sparty, I love it. Now, while that was new loyalty with going against Nebraska, my old loyalty is being tested. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I've got a Miami Dolphins cup right there. I got the field right there. I got a football over there. I'm going Raiders minus 4. I am. Miami's going across the country. Tua's hurt. That offensive line is horrendous. Really, really bad. It doesn't matter if you have all these fun toys now, the great secondary. Derek Carr's playing like an MVP candidate. And the Raiders pass rush is for real. They are bringing dudes and getting pressure even without blitzing. And against one of the worst offensive lines and youngest offensive lines in football, that's a recipe for disaster for the Dolphins. So it hurts my heart. I hope I go 4-1 this week, personally. But my brain's telling me Raiders -4. And then my heart and my brain, Michigan State -5.
All right. Well, sticking with the brain, I'm also sticking in the NFL, all these picks, just FYI to the listeners. But sticking with the brain pick, be smart. Take the Ravens in Detroit, -8.5. Let's just not kid anybody here. Detroit is awful. Detroit is going for another probably, franchise terrible season. Hopefully they can go 0-17. We'll see what happens. Detroit is awful. Ravens are good. I know that Lamar Jackson likes to fumble in domes, as we saw against the Raiders. I don't care. He can fumble 5 times this game. It's not going to matter. Ravens are going to go off. Pick 4. We got new up in Foxborough. I'm liking the over here. 42.5. Whenever you see that low of an over, you always think take the under. Because it's just Vegas is telling you something. The Vegas winds are whispering. You take the under with something that low. I'm going opposite. I'm taking everything I know, throwing the book out the window. I'm taking the over here. 42.5 over. I like Daniel Jones out there with the Patriots. I think Jameis Winston just had a bad game last week. I think he bounces back. I think the Saints will be fine. They just got to get Kamara running on the screen game again. I like a tight game here. Both teams in the 20s. That puts you up in the 40, 45 range, worst case scenario, 44 range, which hits that over. So take the over there. Back over to you, William.
I think you meant Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, yes. Not Daniel Jones up in the New York Giants. Mac Jones.
I mean, Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes.
All right. Listen, as I mentioned earlier, I bet on Army. You know why? Because I love this country. I support the troops in bonus pick. I really like Army -8.5 against the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. But that aside, I'm going against my patriotism here in the fact that I'm going with an under. Okay? I hate it. You hate it. We all hate it. Okay? No one likes an under. It is stress-inducing, and rooting against points is just un-American. But I gotta do it in the Textile Bowl. That's right. We're going to NC State versus Clemson. The Wolfpack so far this year. They shut out South Florida. Remember, they're terrible. We went over this. Shut out South Florida. Then they gave up 24 points to Mike Leach in Mississippi State. And then they surrendered 7 last week to Furman. Meanwhile, Clemson surrendered 10 points to Georgia, 3 points to South Carolina State, and 8 points to Georgia Tech. Also, Mississippi State and Mike Leach limited NC State to 10 points. And then you have the fact that Clemson scored 3 against Georgia, 14 against Georgia Tech, and then they scored a lot against South Carolina State. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. DJU, that actually sounds like something hot that should be by a pool in Vegas. DJU, he's playing horrifically, okay? He's not playing well. NC State, Dave Dorn, pretty good defense. Clemson, Venables,